Happy Wednesday. Hi, Vivek.
Hey Nisa, how you doing?
I'm doing good for a hump day. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I want to check out. Last time we had a tech issue, so we didn't get to complete the live. Um, so right now on LinkedIn, it says live today, but it doesn't say streaming now, which is one of the challenges that we've had. So we're going to keep going, and um, I'm not sure what we're doing wrong. How can you be a technology company and have so many challenges with simply getting your stream to work between
That's always
restream?
how it seems to work. We may be streaming into the void, but we'll keep
But
going regardless.
we're going to do it. So, if I could figure out actually how to, yeah, because it's not live. You can click to join. Kelly says it's good. So perhaps it's just me looking at it incorrectly. So I just got a text message because I am overly cautious about my LinkedIn Live skills these days. So we're going to try again. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're super passionate about this topic. Mainly because Vivek and I are working with a lot of companies and clients whose visionaries and executives really want to move in an accelerated way towards implementing an AI ready culture to really capture this market opportunity for their company in efficiency and productivity and accelerated growth. And frankly, in many cases, first mover advantage is really essential for the next decade. And so, with that in mind, I'll introduce myself, introduce Vivek, and I'll ask you to introduce yourself technically. And then we're going to talk today about building AI confidence and fluency across an organization, what that looks like, what it's going to take, what the benefits are, and what to watch out for. So, my name is Anissa Avon. If we haven't met, I am really appreciative of you guys being here today. It means a lot. And I am the co-founder, I should say, co-founder and one of the managing partners of Weave AI and peopletransformation.ai. I've worked in the coaching and training space for 28 years. Feels like a long time, almost 3 decades. And I love what we do here. And we are taking change management and coaching and mentorship grade AI to our clients in order to accelerate their um, growth and retain employees faster and produce greater productivity. So that's a little bit about me. Vivek, would you share a little about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Vivek. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Weave AI and at People Transformation AI. I'm also the person who heads development of AI solutions at People Transformation. So that kind of puts us in a unique position where we run a company that helps organizations with large scale change management, impacting behavioral transformation in ways that can help a person develop in a way that drives a company's growth. And at the same time, we build AI solutions to accomplish that. So we're kind of speaking from two different perspectives today, which is the pure change management behavioral side of how do you get people to be more receptive to and adopt and use AI solutions. And then also, how can AI solutions help you in accomplishing that same goal at scale?
Brilliant. Perfect. One of the reasons why, let's jump right into our topic. Do you want to share your screen? We
Sure.
prepared a little handy dandy deck. So one of the reasons why we're really passionate, let's add to the scene, about building AI confidence and fluency is because we are finding so many clients either have not released the Kraken, so to speak, and enabled their employees or empowered employees to begin experimenting, let alone drive initiatives with AI. Many companies are leaving it in the IT department, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and why that's not working for the majority of organizations. And we're also going to talk about what to do about it. And here's the kicker. The research shows that, we as business owners, we've always heard the statistics that 85% of businesses will go out of business in the first 5 years. Well, the new statistic is you get 2 years, right? You either compete in this market or you're out, right? And then I've also read where I can't remember the exact number, but I'm going to spitball it, and that is that even legacy businesses that have been around for 50 years, now have a lifespan of no more than the next 10. And with the advancement every day of AI, it's going to be less than 5. So lots of opportunity to make sure that your organization and those who can drive innovation feel empowered to bring forth productivity, efficiency, and innovation to your organization. So let's talk about the real barriers. So I want to share a couple of stories. I have several clients that we're doing work with people transformation, AI, and Weave. One of them, and we coupled a training and development program with our AI enabled learning and development digital coaching platform. And the traditional training programs, you can kind of count on ROI and retention being about 17 to 18%. But after 30 days, folks are going to remember about a little less than 20% of what they learned. And if they don't apply it within the next 30 days, it's kind of gone, right? They'll get 5-6% value out of it. So when we added the AI nudging and AI digital coaching, it increased the competency during a 10-month period up to 60% on the low side to 90% for some of these folks. And all we did was enable them to leverage AI to drive the learning forward. When we first began, one of the biggest barriers was, what is this you want me to do? And how does it work? And am I going to know how? And once we introduced it, and it was literally as simple as, Vivek, you're fuzzy now. Did I lose you?
Am I back?
Yeah, there you are. You had fuzz face for a moment. So when we introduced it, there was a lot of hesitation and honestly a lot of resistance just to the idea of chatting with conversational AI to drive learning. So we simplified it. Can you talk a little bit about how we simplified the approach, the 5-minute interactions, and how it was as natural as just showing up for work and turning on your computer, essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of core behavioral psychological concept as to why people are resistant of not just AI solutions, but any kind of digital transformation. It's just amplified when we're talking about AI that has a little bit more of an intimate presence in someone's day-to-day. The first is they don't trust the tool itself, or they don't trust the people that are behind the tool. So that's kind of the feeling of, is this a big brother? Is this going to be used for punitive action against me? And so the first barrier is getting over resistance from fear of punitive action. The quickest way to bypass that is not just in communications saying, of course, things are anonymous and this is what we're going to be using the data for, and this is how it's going to help you day to day. That's kind of the base foundation you have to do. But beyond that, the most important and impactful way to bypass that fear is to have communications roll out through trusted individuals. And so a big part of our process is mapping organizational networks and understanding who are the people that hold influence and that are trusted inside of various subgroups inside of an organization. And then when we do a rollout, It's not a top-down rollout where there's just a town hall or big email blasts that are coming from senior leadership, but the message is being carried and, in fact, championed from individuals that are already trusted. That helps us get past the first barrier. The second major barrier is this a waste of time? Is this useless? Is this really going to do anything for my day-to-day? And to get past that barrier, we have to very quickly demonstrate value to how using this new tool is going to make your day-to-day better. And the fastest way to do that, we found, is through extremely quick feedback loops. What I mean by that is we don't just roll out a new AI solution, sit back for 6 months, and then figure out if it's working or not. Instead, as soon as a solution goes live, within the first interactions, the AI itself can ask users, is this being beneficial? Is this helping them? How can we tune the interaction to make sure that it's something that is a better fit for their day-to-day? That's one of the great powers of AI solutions, is we can cut that feedback loop time essentially down to zero. And the last point I want to bring up is there's fears in terms of kind of the technology gap. Do I have the capability to learn these new tools? This feels foreign and like a lot of new things that I need to master in order to be able to see the results from it. And bypassing that last piece is kind of where we're going to focus a lot of the discussion today, which is how do you build confidence from the start? And I think that's probably a good chance to talk about what is the disconnect that results in that lack of confidence. I'm going to pass back to you for this one, Anissa.
Yeah. So that's a good, this is a good place to start with a few benchmarks and clarifications. A lot of organizations believe that they've empowered their folks to use Copilot, for example. Just worked last month with a 110,000 employee organization. 2 years ago, they gave everyone Copilot. About 85% of the employees didn't even know it existed. They had heard something about it, but they also heard we have a policy, so you need to make sure you don't, you know, our policy, but no one could cite the policy. They knew that they weren't supposed to share their secret sauce, but they weren't sure what that meant. So they rolled out, you know, an initiative to empower people. But it looked like, hey, this is what it can do for you. Here's what it is. Go at it. And you know, that some of the research now, we've had enough years under our belt where we know that 71% of leaders say that fostering a culture where experimentation with AI is encouraged is essential, right? It's what we want to do. And yet less than 1/4 of those same companies know how to do that. And it's actually not as difficult as I think we're making it out to be. This isn't an ERP implementation where you got to spend gazillions to get your folks trained up. It is a change management process, because for those folks who may not be, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not just innovation minded. It's there's risk adverse, and then there's, I don't want to make a mistake at work. AI could collapse the planet and the power grid if I do it wrong, right? I'm not actually over exaggerating. I've heard leaders who are supposed to be in charge of finding efficiencies leveraging AI who literally don't know that they can actually solve their problems inside a generative AI, for example. So would you show that screen real quick that you were showing a little bit earlier? Let's talk about the biggest mistakes and how to overcome them. So fear of making mistakes is one of the biggest challenges. Let's train our people on, there are ways you can make a mistake. If you build an AI agent to go into your database and, you know, wreak havoc, yeah, that's a big problem. But that's where your IT department does come in, right? Are you showing your screen?
I think I am. Can you see it?
I cannot, but I have a new screen
Let me go ahead and share it again.
monitor. Let's try. Can you try it again? Aha! I have to hit a button. Okay. By the way, folks, if you're on live with us and you have a question or you really want to make sure we cover something, um, uh, make sure you share it with us, because I'd much rather make today about something that's useful for you, than just be talking heads that you're like, well, that wasn't worth it. I already knew all that. So let's make sure we drive meaning for you. If you're going to join us for your lunchtime, let us know how to make it relevant for you. So the fear of making mistakes, you do want your IT to set up guardrails. Can you talk a little bit about what that means exactly? And I have two questions for you, Vivek. The guardrails that are essential, that I've heard you talk about, are just not that difficult to set up. That they require strategy, but not difficult. The other thing I want you to talk about is level one AI. Just allowing people to use generative AI in the flow of their daily work so that they get familiar with, I don't ever want to live without it. That moment that we have, right? Would you talk about those two pieces?
Yeah. So AI security is a whole can of worms that could take quite some time to go through in detail. So I'm just going to kind of touch on the highlights here. Typically, when we think about concerns around AI security, it is kind of in two buckets. First is the things that employees share going to be kept within the walls of the organization, or is it something that might be ending up in training data somewhere else, or it might end up informing a competitor? So that's kind of one fear that I see very often. And then the other fear is if there are internal security protocols around access and controls to particular data, and that stuff gets fed into the knowledge base that a generative AI might have access to, might be accidentally be sharing knowledge to people that shouldn't have access to it.
Yeah.
And we can kind of go into the depth of how do you protect against those two things. But for the first issue, I find a lot of organizations are, in fact, not even aware that the developer and enterprise versions of most APIs have terms in them where your data is not going to be used to train their models. There's other implications around that if anybody's interested, I'm happy to go in deeper. But to the second question, AI safeguards, that's something that we can take much more proactive action on. And so part of that action is around, is there data that needs to be anonymized or redacted if an employee shares it before it's stored in any kind of system? And the second is, do we need to segment the knowledge bases that are going to be available to different employees? And so when we think about these problems, they're not really AI problems. They're fundamental security questions that are answered for any product. So the same way that we think about segmentation of knowledge and data controls in any other application should also be applied in the AI realm. Adding a generative layer on top of it shouldn't add any more insecurity, as long as you've handled your behind the scenes safeguards correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. In a moment, I want you to talk a little bit about the basic generative, like Chat GPT, and making that sure that's a closed system. But before we go there, have you read some of those studies? Like, I think it was IT Security Magazine. I'm not remembering exactly. Security. I know it's Security Magazine. I think that's the name of it. It's 8 out of 10 companies have found that the people are using shadow AI, right, outside the purview of IT, and employees are uploading financial documents, employee lists, client lists, anything and everything, right? I've got a big board meeting. I don't know how to use my internal system. Let me go to Chat GPT, upload my company's data, and then guess what? It's available. So now you can talk to Chat GPT and say, well, what was their earnings last year? Well, if it's not on the website and it's in Chat GPT, you know how it got there, right? So
That's a great point that you bring up. If you are not offering AI solutions to employees, they're going to go and seek them out themselves. And then it's a security issue because it's outside of your sphere of influence.
Yeah.
And so that's a great way to put it. Part of the security process here is providing the right solutions so that people don't feel incentivized to go and find something else outside of something you can control.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of companies have been dragging their feet because they themselves are waiting on their IT department to have enough time and energy to actually implement a policy or train their people or set up systems. And it, the best practices, and this is one of the things that one of our clients has done, is you set up the system immediately. You immediately stagger out how you're going to do it, but you invite people into it and you just let them know nothing outside of these internal systems can you share our data. And we're going to teach you how to use it so that we can help you save anywhere from 2 minimum to 10 hours a week. But you got to use it within our systems. And so with that in mind, will you talk a little bit about enabling employees on the basics? Like, just give them Copilot and show them how to create a PowerPoint, right? Give them Copilot, set it up with your internal, knowledge base, essentially, that you want different levels of employees. You've talked a little bit about that. But even just opening ChatGPT, I've talked to an EVP, and at this company, that's part of the executive suite. And what was her comment exactly? Her comment was something to the matter of, well, you can't really get what you need with ChatGPT. And I said, well, what were you trying to do? And she was like, well, I needed to do a presentation. And I said, and you weren't able to get it to, no, I had to rewrite everything. And she's not alone. A lot of people still feel that the technology isn't good enough when in fact, would you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about, or at least when I conceptualize kind of the tiers of impact that AI solutions can have, the very first tier is basically just a smarter way to search. It's the most basic solution, but if you just load up, like you said, organizational documents, KPIs, policies, procedures into a knowledge base that is accessible to an LLM via some kind of RAG solution, it's as simple as asking a question and then getting an answer via that data that's sourced versus having to go and dig around in the internet and find that answer. It's a very easy case study for people to understand. It's something that's easy for them to do because they're asking in natural language like they would have asked anyway. And it's something that's pretty quick to implement. The next level up is in actually generating content when we're thinking about, like your example with the presentation, putting together tables, speeding up the more manual parts of content creation so that the human focus can be more on the critical thinking aspect. And that's where some training and upskilling is required in terms of prompt engineering on one end as kind of the most basic piece. Then you start getting into model selection and into tuning parameters. And there's different levels of intricacy in terms of being able to get the outputs that you want in terms of a generation. But a lot of people I find just kind of go off the top of their head in terms of how they make a request. And while these are AI systems that you can talk to in natural language, there's still a specific language that you can talk to them in that's going to be more effective than what we might have with one another. So that's kind of the first thing that I'd mention. And Anissa, I think you can probably speak a good bit about prompt engineering because you're one of the strongest prompt engineers that I know.
Coming from you, that's like a huge compliment. So, yeah, and there's so much more to learn. So I do want to talk a little bit about the learning process, though. So I've on my psychological profile. One of our coaches is really, Jeff Morris is an expert at a profile called behavioral DNA. And in fact, we're combining behavioral DNA profiles into the digital coaching aspect of our AI platform. But with that in mind, one of the the aspects of my style is I'm on like that really extreme of the first person to bungee jump kind of leader, right? And so what that means is I just have spent countless hours learning how to leverage the chat GPT. So in my mind, the reason I'm sharing this is because I've met a lot of leaders who don't understand how their teams are not already, why they need training, right? Why do you need extra help? Just get in there. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. The only way you're going to learn how to create is if you get your hands in the mix. But that's not enough. You've got to set them up in what I'll call an AI sprint, right? I'm working with an organization that has set up executive teams that went through a sprint themselves, and they have then enabled their own learning by teaching what they learned to a center of excellence, a group of influencers, the network analysis that Vivek mentioned earlier, a group of influencers that you identify have a specific influence in the organization now become the next level of folks to go deep with the training, and the training being what is prompt engineering and how do you get it, and with the goal of how can you save yourself 2 to 10 hours per week on your current work. Once you get to that place, then it's about learning how to think in terms of automation. Is there work that we do that could be automated? And for some employees, that brings up the fear of, am I going to be replaced? I talked to a salesperson today, and he was a cold caller and he was great. But we got into the conversation about AI, and he said, "It's so good. I don't know if I'm going to have a job in a year." And I don't believe that. There are certain jobs we're always going to need. I'm not always going to buy from an AI bot on the other end of a line. I'm just not, right? And maybe in 20 years, people will all the time, but I guess I'm old and I'm not gonna. Point being is that there is a pathway. So, executive team, your leaders have to be trained. Next level, create a center of excellence where you can drive that AI comfort across the organization in a very systematic way. This should look like a 12-week sprint where every week folks are expected to spend an hour training, learning, co creating together. That brings me to another. So Bernie Heim has actually submitted a question in the chat, and I know that Bernie is not the only one that has this question. Thank you, very helpful presentation. Who can I use to help me implement AI at a client? How can I make the referral? Would you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what kind of AI. But we found kind of regardless of the AI solution that's rolling out, there's a level of change management that's needed in being able to use the solution. And so we view that as kind of an integral part of the implementation process. So we'll share a link at the end of the call here where you can book some time with us. We have a team that's very experienced in implementing AI solutions, but we are, I would say, unfortunately unique in the AI implementation space in that the implementation with the technology is kind of half of what we look at, but 50% or more is on the people transformation aspect. There's no point of having the new technology if people are not integrating it into their day-to-day and you're actually seeing the ROI out at the other end. And so when we think about implementation, we're thinking on both sides, the technology and the change management. If you're interested in making a referral, we do have a referral program. And if you're interested in that, again, we'll share that booking link and we can tell you more about those details.
Well, and I think you're being a little modest. It's rare to have an AI implementation partner that has also implemented their own AI into a full scale platform across organizations. And one of the reasons why we offer a referral program and offer our team to help with AI implementations is because that enables us to see the future, right? I can read as many articles as I want. That doesn't mean I can actually see what's coming down the pipe unless I can see it on the ground, the way leaders are using it, the way they're thinking about it. And that's kind of why we have the intimate knowledge that we do about the technical upskilling. Will you talk a little bit about the leverage point that you've got there on the screen? What do you mean by leverage point?
Yeah, so we view like a one-off AI training is not going to accomplish the goals that we're talking about. We're talking about a more fundamental shift in organizational culture, like Anissa was mentioning, in terms of encouraging experimentation, tolerating mistakes, because this is a fast-moving space with technology that's changing at a pretty rapid pace, and having dedicated time and active rewards for people that are finding applications with AI tooling. I've seen quite a few big blasts come out from CEOs towards their entire workforce, putting expectations of AI innovation, but there's no structure that's built around why people would feel incentivized to actually do that.
Yeah.
There's no acknowledgement that they can try and fail, that they have time that is dedicated and blocked for them to take part in that experimentation, and that there is a clear reward structure for if and when they accomplish it. That psychological safety is one of the biggest barriers that we see to organizational transformation via technology. Upskilling is kind of the foundational floor that opens people's minds as to what are the possibilities and gives them the power to experiment. The culture shift is then what leads to that experimentation becoming valuable new application.
Yeah. We are nearing the end of our 30 minutes that we promised folks we would have this session today. One of the things I'd like to hit on, though, is that modeling the hands-on participation in AI pilots. I find that it's not enough for the leaders to say, we're going to give you training, we want you to go at it. They also need to be involved in facilitating input on those big initiatives. I see AI departments who are creating huge opportunities in automation and data analytics that's really, we're just going to call it progressive and visionary, right? Next world type stuff. But they're not facilitating the input from the folks that at the end of the day have to contribute to it or need to want to be involved in it if we expect them to use it. Something that you said, you mentioned that earlier, and the statistic is that somewhere around 76% of digital transformations fail. And at this point, that includes AI initiatives falling short of people's goals. And the primary reason, or the one factor that creates success, are in the organizations that succeed, that 24% that succeed, they have invested at least half of their budget on change management. And change management is a people development. It's facilitating buy-in. It's facilitating the psychological safety. It's addressing the uncertainty and the fear and enabling people to make the business case for their perspective on the initiative, right? And then putting those two together. The change management approach that you've seen work inside transformations. I mean, you have worked on million subscriber type transformations. What were the factors that organizations that are successful put into play that work for such a massive undertaking?
The biggest thing is ownership. So the people that are users of the new technology should be the people that are owning how that technology rollout is designed, how it's going to impact their day-to-day. And those people that have the input should also be individuals in the organization that carry influence and are trusted by others, so that when you have a rollout, it doesn't feel like something that is being pressed upon you from top down and is going to flip your life upside down, but rather something that is being championed from bottom up. That's kind of the most important piece on one end, kind of from the design and rollout perspective. And then from the other standpoint is what we've been talking about throughout this call, which is how are you getting through the psychological resistance and those confidence barriers. And that's where the upskilling, experimentation, and culture shift comes in. You can have the most incredible AI technology, but if you don't have a means for it to be rolled out and for people to be incentivized to use it and start generating value with it, then you've wasted your entire investment.
When you say incentivized, do you mean pay them? Do you mean make it make sense to them? Tell me what you mean by what's the incentive beyond, hey, we're going to help you be more productive so you can work more for us.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
You can take those free hours and give us more of your time, energy, and brain. Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can think about incentive structures, and in some cases, that might even include some kind of pay or benefits if people are expected to segment out a part of their time specifically for AI solutions. But most of the time, what we're speaking about is an alignment between personal development and organizational development. When people feel that there's a disconnect between if the company is doing better, they are doing worse, that is when you have strong resistance to a change in a new technology. But if you can communicate consistently and repeatedly show proof that by adopting these AI technologies, somebody's day-to-day is going to become easier. They can spend times and upskill in the ways and in the career progression that they're more interested in. That by using these AI tools, their personal journey is becoming more unlocked at the same time that they are driving greater value for the organization. That alignment is traditionally very difficult to do, but with the kind of tooling that we've built at People Transformation, we can understand the intricate connections in an organization of where does a person sit related to the organizational structure. Thus, how can improving this person's day-to-day push the goals of the organization. So that's something that's a pretty recent unlock in terms of technology that allows us to create that alignment at scale.
Yeah. So as we begin to wrap up, one thing I do want to run through is a short list of low effort, or examples, I want to say, of low effort AI pilots that proved value fast, which I think is one of the primary, when we do an AI training for leaders or then cascade it through the organizations, one of the most important aspects of what we do is enable business case development. There should never be an AI initiative other than, hey, launch Copilot, train your people on how to use it so that they can see the benefit and begin experimenting and expanding their mind. The second piece, though, is understanding that AI initiatives in and of themselves will fall short without the business case. And I'm flabbergasted, that's the word, at how often companies will invest in AI initiatives on not the objective data that this is going to be great for us, but the subjective data. So as we begin to wrap up, I just want to mention, and I wrote these down or have them in front of me so that I can share them. So an investment company deployed Microsoft 365. Within 2 months, about 70% of employees were using it regularly, boosting productivity by reducing the time spent on routine manual tasks. So that's a simple one, right? Second piece, an airline company launched an AI-powered chatbot that quickly took over answering about 60% of the common customer queries. We've been seeing this leverage now for a decade nearly, but now they're even better. So imagine reducing your most common customer queries by 60% so that you have minimal human intervention. And this is actually a bank financial services firm that we worked with, allowed their financial analysts to use AI to draft and edit research reports. So this was something that would take hours and hours and hours and hours. They could now be completed in minutes. Also, inside a closed system so that there's no secret sauce being leaked. Vivek, you may remember this one, MedScribe. So Accenture Health implemented MedScribe, an AI system that used Azure OpenAI, helped nurses process regulatory letters. The pilot saved 11,000 nursing hours. So at $800,000 value just in that one little pilot, with a 99% approval rate on the AI generated content. I wanted to share those as examples, whether it's client facing, internal facing, something to enable your HR team to be more hands-on and less administrative, aggregating data for better analytics, better decision making. Once you start rolling out a program where you're cascading the initiatives with input and then creating those centers of excellence, you're going to find that people want to figure out how to leverage AI across their teams and across their organizations. So we welcome, thank you, Bernie, for your question, and looking forward to connecting with you. If Vivek or I can be of assistance, or our training program, our AI consultancy, we talk to companies all day, nearly every day, about their initiatives and how to see it through. And in some cases, we're not the right fit. So we're like, hey, we may have someone that's a good fit for you, not our cup of tea. We'll send you over there. And in exchange for that, we often come back to our developers and are like, ooh, there's something we haven't considered. We need to rework some stuff in version 10 down the road because this is going to hit us sooner than we think, right? So that's the value to us. If we can help you identify where you want to put your time and attention, how you can accelerate productivity and efficiency at your organization, it would be our pleasure. Anything you want to add to that, Vivek?
Yeah, I'll just share a really quick client story. So I was talking to a client recently, large organization, 2,000 plus employees, and they told me they wanted to do 5 AI initiatives this year. I said, okay, great. To do what? And they said, we don't know yet. We just want to do 5.
Yep.
And I see that sentiment a lot of like organizations understand, like we know that there is a lot of power and potential in AI solutions, but we don't yet know how to connect the dots of, okay, what does that tangibly mean? And so that's where I see these big blasts out from CEOs saying, figure out some AI innovation. Because the work hasn't been put in to understand the business case behind it, like Anissa is saying. The good news is that is something that we help with, and we have actually an AI solution that helps us in understanding those business cases. So for that client that I just shared, we ran an assessment with them and we found that they had major bottlenecks that was resulting in a massive slowdown of customer throughput. So there was a big revenue driver that one of those AI initiatives could target. The next AI initiative that we looked at was they had a 40+% year-over-year turnover, really high turnover. And that's, again, something that an AI solution can target, not something that traditionally organizations are thinking of, but it's something that we happen to specialize in. And so if you know that there's power in AI, you don't want to get left behind and you see your competitors using it, but you're not sure what that business case is yet, that is something that we can help you with.
Love it. Love it. So I'm going to put a QR code on the screen there. You can grab time on our calendar for a strategy call anytime. You can also reach us at our websites. Vivek is in the throes of working with our healthcare clients with Weave, WEEVE.ai. And I am the other side, which is our sister company, peopletransformation.ai. So give us your feedback. Let us know what you'd like to see in a future LinkedIn Live. Reach out, and I look forward to collaborating.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Vivek.